So, you know what I'm saying? You're here, Merc80.com, once again, bringing you nothing but the premier musicians, people that are talented all around. And I'm here with Mr. Trent. How you doing today, man?
My man.
All right. Yes, sir. So let's go ahead, get it started. Basically, first question is, in your own words, what's your story, and how did you get into music? How did you fall in love with music?
Pretty much, been around music all my life. I grew up playing percussion, due to my father being a musician, and also record pool director in the late 70s. And my mom and dad were great lovers of music, jazz and rock, and just all different types of diverse. We had a diverse soundtrack in the house, you know. So as a kid, it kind of evolved from there. I started actually playing records. The idea of DJing and that kind of thing in 1982. It had been introduced to me by, obviously, by my father being a DJ and record pool director. If you're not familiar with it, people not familiar with record pool, basically back in the 70s, all the major record companies would send like the new promotional material, new stuff that was going to come out to different pools that had DJs in them. So that basically they would, say they have like 20 copies, and they would make sure that all the DJs in their pool or their club had those copies, and they were playing them at their clubs that they were playing at the time. So, we were getting a lot of, I had all the new jams and all that kind of stuff all the time, especially in the 70s. But I had some older cousins that were around me at the time that were DJing and, coming from Chicago, the house music scene was budding. We were also, let me just say this too, we were kind of also into the whole Euro pop scene and breakdance and the electro scene that was going on at the time. But the subculture that was being developed in Chicago was this thing called house music, which was basically the music that Frankie Knuckles used to play at the warehouse, and that's where the term house music comes from. So, urban culture, in Chicago. There were other things going on, hip hop, yeah. Disco rap was more prevalent with us, you know what I'm saying? Of course, Sugar Hill Gang was big, and Curtis Blow and all that kind of stuff was big, but for us it was more about the dance element. And about 87 I started playing professionally, and like in high school, doing high school parties, doing other parties or whatever. It was a 5-year span or so that, I kind of stayed at home and developed my talent, because back then, going out and DJing, which is kind of scary nowadays, cats get a little Serato or something, within a year's time, they're a DJ and they feel like they can play play next to the greatest or whatever. But back then it was an educated crowd, and you had to be educated and skilled at what you did. So you spent a lot of time with yourself developing your craft. You collected records and equipment, and we didn't have pitch control turntables at the time, and it was more about programming the music and using our fingers or whatever, and tape decks, and so out of that scene, that culture, man. It's just been around me all my life, man. And I've been doing it, for over 20-something years now. I've actually been producing music for over 20 years now. So DJing since 1982, so this is gonna be 28 years.
Nice, nice. What made you so drawn to house music?
Well, see, here's the thing, like with house music, which I hate the term now almost, because it seems to just really, well, especially nowadays kind of has a formula. It's commercial and it's pop a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's pop, but it's not pop. It has an identity. When I was coming up, house music or dance music, whatever you want to call it, music you can just dance to. So it was everything. It was jazz, it was R&B, what you consider R&B, it was rock, it was all these other things. It was just basically, it was a style and a presentation. It was the style and presentation, it was the sonics that were involved in making the music, or how it sounded on sound systems and that kind of thing. Because that's also, from my time as a DJ, it wasn't necessarily just about playing the music. It's about how the music sounds, how it relates, and the psychoacoustics that are involved in what happens when people listen to certain records with on sound systems, and you know, when the system is set, you know, specifically for the room. You know, people don't even get into that. They were like, oh, I'm just coming in to DJ and do this. But like, I come from a different time. It was about the total presentation, the experience. It's about the journey, and it's about actually telling a story. You know, when you're presenting records, you know what I'm saying, and talking to people. You know, and then there's the you know, the third ear sound thing that we like to talk about, which is like what happens when, like I said, when the music touches people and how it makes them feel and how they relate to it. You know, it's like the God experience. You know, and a lot of ways, DJs from our time were, you know, really into, you know, that aspect. You know, we just kind of, you know, it was about us and the audience back to us. It was like a communication. It's like the drum and the dancer, kind of thing. So for me, it had a, you know, once again, it had a spiritual quality to it. And, you know, I liked the idea of being that it came from percussion, that I could mix beats together. You know, I was like, wow, this is cool shit, you know. And of course, the, you know, the culture that was going on at the time. This was an exciting time, man. It was the 80s, man. It was, you know, some art. You know, it was like a whole thing that was going on. You know, it was fresh. People into fashion, and you know, it was just a really fresh scene, man. And it was underground too. You know what I'm saying? It was alternative. There was pop music being played at the time on the radio. And sometimes, if you went to you know, clubs like the Warehouse or the Music Box or the Power Plant and all these different places that were open at the time, they would play some of that stuff, you know, but it was mainly about the obscurity, you know what I'm saying? So like basically we go to these places, and even us that were like playing outside the clubs that were a little younger, we were playing stuff that you just couldn't hear on the radio, or that you would never hear anywhere else, and that's what made it, you know, like exciting. It's like you could only hear that record if you go to that place. You would not hear it anywhere else. You know, played that way. You know, and then to see the reaction of the people, and you know, just being, because it's a high spiritual quality, and the fact that somebody's dancing, okay, listening to, you know, high fidelity sound, and it's just them and the music. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking, it's them and the music, and it's just that situation and that spirit, that zeitgeist that happens there. So it's powerful. So I mean, all those things, you know, along with just the fact that it was an art form, is what got me into it.